I didn't want this for either of us. I never wanted any of this.
The last episode of the season left me a bit dismayed. I am thrilled that the revolution is finally afoot. I am glad to have witnessed that Daisy hasn't turned out to be the selfish brat that I once thought she was. I'm also glad that Agnes doesn't have to marry that old commander who's in charge of the eyes. And I have so many questions about that broken engagement. Like, what was his motive? Did he really break things off with Agnes because of her close proximity to the scandal of Becca unaliving her father? Or did he break it off because he now sees Agnes as damaged goods after she disclosed that she had been touched inappropriately by another man? Because it's Gilead's culture to treat women, especially plums, as symbols of purity and status rather than people. So did Agnes just stop fitting into the image or the fantasy that he wanted? Let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments. The one good thing that came out of this connection, though, was Agnes persuading her then fiance to release her best friend from confinement. But what left me ruminating in the end is what's going to happen with Becca? Why did Garth lock her in that room? What happens when she learns her best friend doesn't have the same feelings for her that she does? This character has experienced so much loss and tragedy. It's actually wild and a complete shock for me, at least, to see her in such a vulnerable state in the end, because she seemed to be the most solid and suspicious and rebellious one throughout most of the season. It was Becca from the very beginning who was the only plum not buying into the marriage hysteria hype. She was vocal about not wanting this life. It was Becca from the very beginning who was the only plum talking about running away, and she was dead serious about this. Not having read the books, I thought for sure Becca would be leading this revolution to dismantle and break away from the oppressive system that is Gilead. But in the end, like so many others we've seen before, it's what broke her. It was so shattering to watch the scene of her walking down the aisle on her wedding day, disassociated and numb, while simultaneously her mother is being hung. I'm really worried for this character's psychological well-being. With all of the horrible things that her father did to other women, she is the one who seems to have suffered the most from the loss of not just one, but two parents. Her whole entire life was completely torn apart in just a few days. She lost her reality, that she had a loving, caring, and morally upright Christian father, when it's revealed that he's been inappropriate with his patients, her friends.
Is it true?
She lost her mother, who had no other choice but to sacrifice her life for her, because even though her dad was a sick pervert, Gilead can't let women go around killing men unpunished. Absolutely not. At least I think she's in a safe place with Garth, but again, why did he lock her in that room? Will he let her in on what he's up to and his work with Mayday? Or will he continue to play this role of his now esteemed commander position? This should be interesting. I think the bright side in all this is that typically characters in TV and film and books, since this is based off a novel, which I kind of want to read, but I don't want any spoilers for the show. But characters that have been through a lot of trauma, either they A, collapse, or they B, are transformed by it. And in feel-good narratives, it's usually the latter. But when I think back to The Handmaid's Tale and what happened to some of my other favorite characters, like Janine, like Esther, like basically anyone who wasn't June, it's like, when has this series ever been a feel-good type story? It might actually get really bleak. But on another note, Daisy, this character has had quite the arc, hasn't she? Although she and many others are still very sloppy with their Mayday movements, like just so obviously suspicious, I'm glad that she isn't constantly crying about going home anymore. And I guess it had to happen this way. Earlier in the show, she had no connection to these girls or anyone in Gilead. So when she started to really understand the gravity of being a Mayday operative and what could happen if she ever got caught, she's like, Why would I risk my life for this? But now she's in the circle and she's bonded with Shu and Agnes and really feels protective of these young women, especially when she found out what Dr. Grove was doing. So now she wants to stay and fight despite having the opportunity to leave and go back to her old life, back to comfort and safety. And am I the only one who found it a bit out of character for June to just let her stay after that speech that she gave? Because Daisy is still a wild card. Yeah, she's coming around, but she's still extremely reckless and has a lot of work to do. She's an act first, ask for forgiveness later type girl, as we saw with her performance at Dr. Grove's office. And Aunt Lydia assured us that Dr. Grove would be dealt with. He would have been executed after Becca's wedding, but of course, Daisy had no way of knowing this and just added more fuel to the fire. An unpopular opinion, but also fact, had this entire chain of events not occurred, had Daisy not falsely accused Becca's dad of assault, had Agnes not been forced to tell Becca about her dad in defense of Daisy, Becca would have never stabbed her dad. He would have eventually been executed, yes, but her mom would have never had to sacrifice her own life to save her daughter. And I wonder if all of this will eventually come out, because Becca already has a disdain for Daisy, but this will really give her a reason to despise her.
Whoa, you lying Becca! Are you trying to ruin my life or are you just crazy?
I think her, meaning Daisy, and Mayday will have big time clashes because she doesn't listen to her handlers and is constantly doing her own thing. Like June allowing her to stay in this situation, knowing Daisy's disposition, is extremely risky. So perhaps June, back to my point of this being completely out of character for her, let her stay because Daisy knows her daughter. And June will very ironically break her own ideology about Mayday and it being bigger than one person, and that sacrifices will eventually happen along the way to keep her own daughter, Hannah, aka Agnes, safe. And June knows that Daisy will for sure keep Hannah safe. Let me know your thoughts on this first season of The Testaments. I know that I am already looking forward to season 2. And if you've enjoyed this content, can you please do me a favor and like, share, and subscribe to the channel? Signing off now, your friend, Dom.